Welcome to the Digital Amateur Television Experimenters Night. This is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania. Amateur radio is a worldwide hobby that has many different aspects. Digital television is just one of the many modes and areas that are covered. Maybe you're interested in becoming involved in the DATV Experimenters Nights. You realise that you do not have to be a radio amateur or need any ATV equipment to participate anywhere in the world. Also participate in the night by coming up to the Queen's Domain club rooms. Yes, right on top of the Queen's Domain in the heritage-listed Coast Wireless Station. You never know, we might get you in front of the camera or behind doing one of the many roles during the night. We get underway with our program on a Wednesday night from 7:30 p.m. local time. We'll see you soon. This is VK7 OTC.
Okay, and this is VK7OTC, the club station, the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night. And welcome to our 10th show for 2021. And at the mic tonight, Justin VK7 Tango Whiskey as your host. And reminder, we've got the YouTube streaming channel going, and I'm watching comments. And any questions or comments, you can throw them through on the channel. You can also come through on Repeater 2. We're listening on there, and in fact I just spoke to Xavier VK7 X-Ray Hotel Juliet with his brand spanking new call sign. So Xavier undertook our assessments, our last assessments actually, back a couple of months ago. So congratulations, Xavier, on the new call sign. And of course Xavier is the brother of VK7 X-Ray Hotel Tango. Harry, so you probably heard them around, so give them a call. They're about on the repeaters and bits and pieces, so great to hear them on the repeaters and using the bands. So now a definite reminder, if I head over to, let me see whether we can do this. Okay, to REAST members, there was earlier in the week a template letter that was sent out to all REAST members to the REAST mailing list. This is a template letter that we got together to enable you to very easily submit a submission to the ACMA class license consultation that's currently going on. This letter, it's a couple of pages. Very first page is just an instructions page that you once you understand the instructions and where to send things, you can get rid of this page altogether. But it gives you the website address where you can send your submission to, or the snail mail address. A definite, please note the deadline of the close of business on the 2nd of April. That is the absolute close of business on 2nd of April. So yeah, you need to get your submission in by that date. And then it goes into the actual letter. So to the ACMA, it goes through the points that the ACMA has asked for comment on. So it's the options. These are all in the boxes. The proposed content of the consultation draft, the development of an ACMA radio procedures document, the type of accreditation for repeaters and beacons, and then the qualification and any other relevant information about the establishment of a amateur accreditation arrangement, and then any other comments around the consultation. So, and any other suggestions as well to further reduce the regulatory burden on amateur licenses and also on the ACMA. So it ends up as a 2-page document, and all you need to do, if you agree with what's in there, you can change it to your heart's content. So if you don't agree with what's in there, then please change it to what you agree with, and then fill in the details at the end and the date, and send it off to this website address on the very first page. So it is there very much to enable people to very quickly put a submission in. We want as many amateurs as we can to put submissions in, and so this is one of the mechanisms that we have made available to actually enable us to do that. So now the other thing, just a quick reminder, we featured an acknowledgement to Anthony VK7LAG. Apologies, couldn't make it into the studio tonight. Okay, that's all right, Anthony. We have got your video at the end, so we'll be playing the video and certainly making reference to it in the John Moyle Memorial Field Day segment, which is coming up. So no problems at all. And I understand if people aren't making it up to the Queen's Domain, it is the weather has become very wet and very shocking. So yeah. But a quick reminder, I featured last week the 10 REAST Foundation training videos. If you're interested in getting your foundation license, then I recommend the 10 videos that follow the training that we go through on a training day, and there's one happening this Saturday. There's a foundation training day, and I understand we've got 4 or 5 people who are coming along to that, so fantastic. But the program that we go through on that day follows the 10 elements of the syllabus, which is how the videos are split up, and provides them in the 10 little segments that you can watch. They vary in length from, I think, about 5 or 6 minutes up to about 25 minutes. Depending on the topic, but it gives you an idea about what we are actually what we'll go through when we do the training, and you can watch it at your own speed, at your own leisure, and then come along to the assessment day. So it just gives you another avenue to pursue your foundational license. So encourage people to have a look at those, and if you I suppose if you want to do a bit of refresher or whatever, then they're certainly available, and they're certainly being viewed, so which is fantastic. I think the introduction video has been viewed nearly 200 times, so they're only up there for a little over a week, I think. So it's doing really well. So available as a resource for people out there. Now. What I might do is get Rex and Richard into the studio. So if you're listening, Rex and Richard, we'll get you into the studio and go through your presentation. So calling Rich and yeah, you two. We've got they're coming in from the green room, otherwise known as the clubhouse. So, welcome, well, let's go the right way. Welcome to our regular contributors, Rex Moncur VK7MO and Richard Howlett VK7ZBX. So, welcome.
Oh.
Now, I've got Richard and Rex in here because there was an attempt made, and I'll let them go into the attempt made, which didn't actually go quite to plan.
Well, some of it did. Richard's did.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Sort of.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to emphasise here that we sort of show things on here that have worked very well and all of this sort of stuff. We're actually going to show something that didn't work quite to plan.
No.
So what we will do here is head across to here.
Why is that?
That's what's going to air.
Right.
This is what we're looking at.
Okay. Well, last week we mentioned that it looked like there was going to be an interesting duct across to ZL.
Yep.
And we were going to try and take advantage of that. The duct kept drifting back. We thought originally it was going to start about Thursday, but drifted back. Roger ZL3RC went across on the Thursday, and the Thursday afternoon there were signals on 2 meters.
Okay.
Friday again there were some really strong signals
On two.
on 2,
On two. Okay.
and Saturday very strong. Now
By very strong, what do you mean? Like 5.9 plus?
I wouldn't say 5.9 plus, but 5.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that was the plan, and the plan was, of course, to work 10 gigs.
Mm.
So next slide. That's what the Hertzburn charts look like. It's not marvellous. There's a bit of yellow right at Hobart, but it's sort of dying out with blue and stuff at and purple at ZL3
Okay.
on the Saturday morning.
Not bad over in
gonna say there's
Western Australia.
That's right.
Even VK3.
Or across the bight.
Yeah. Next slide. Now that was what the duct looked like at Hobart that morning, which is nearly 800.
Encouraging.
Very good.
Okay.
And in fact, that evening, next slide,
Ooh, ouch. Got
it
even
actually
better.
went off the scales. It was 2,643.
Wow.
Now,
That's outrageous.
next slide. Now, this is the signals levels that I recorded on 2 meters, and you'll see they got up to plus 6 dB on Q65.
Okay.
I have a suspicion that Q65 saturates with strong signals, so I really think that was more like probably plus 15 dB.
Okay. Okay.
So
Wow.
quite strong.
That's huge. So you're well and truly hearing the tones.
Oh yes, well and truly, and you can see the sort of medium points about minus 10. So most of the time it was quite strong, and of course once it got strong, we switched to 10 gigs.
Okay.
Unfortunately, 10 gigs was a failure, so that's the issue there. But it was possible to reduce power down to 10 milliwatts.
Whoa.
And have a Q65 contact to ZL on 2 meters.
10 milliwatts
10
between VK7 and ZL.
ZL on 2 meters. So, I mean, it was pretty good conditions.
That's outrageous.
Roger reduced his power by dropping it down to the minimum that his 991 would produce, which was 1 watt,
Okay.
and then reducing the output audio on WSJT.
Okay. Yes.
And I think he said he only had one increment off the bottom. Now, he doesn't know how much power it was, but it was weak.
Correct.
So
That's off the show.
now the trouble is, every time the signals peaked on 2 meters, we swapped to 10 gigs, so we never really got the peak on 2 meters.
Yeah. Okay.
And for the whole 3 days, we saw nothing.
On 10.
Nothing on 10.
Okay.
Now that was a bit disappointing, seeing 3 weeks before we.
You had good signals on 2 and good signals on 10.
Yes. And while I've never seen as good a signals on 2 as 10, usually they might be about 10 dB worse.
Okay.
And given that we were at plus 6 dB,
which
but
might have
probably
been more like plus 15.
You would have thought you'd see something, particularly by running with a single tone, which gives you another 6 dB.
Yep. So you weren't even seeing tones like that?
No.
Okay.
Next slide. So why did we get nil signals? Well, one possibility is that the duct wouldn't support 10 gigs. However, if you go through the ITU literature,
yep,
it tells you that at low frequencies, ducts have to be wide to work,
yeah,
many wavelengths.
Yep.
But higher frequencies, there's no limit.
It's frequency independent.
It's once you get there.
Yeah.
So, from that point of view, 10 gigs should have worked. Absorption is a factor,
okay,
but the absorption doesn't vary that much for a duct at the same sort of height and so our past results of sort of you lose about 20 dB on this sort of path with absorption.
Okay.
And when you take account of all the differences in power and disk gains, there's about 10 dB difference. So
okay,
it just didn't feel right that the duct was
something else.
Yeah. Pointing is always a problem at 10 gigs.
Okay.
And we both had, I had a slightly newer location,
Okay.
only by about 2 metres.
So you wouldn't think that was a problem?
Well, whether I was still pointing in the same place, but
you would have done the reference thing, and
I did all that, and I used there's a little peninsula that's out in
Ralph's Bay.
Ralph's Bay's there.
Yeah. Okay.
That is right on the path. So
Okay.
I was pretty confident I had my direction right.
Okay.
Roger had to move, or had chosen to move to a new location, which was slightly higher, should have been better.
Okay.
And when on Google Earth we could see a house which was right on the path,
okay,
and he lined up across the top of that house. So
okay,
even though we'd changed locations, it didn't seem like that was the problem.
Okay.
Now, he did have some GPS-DO problems, and
okay,
one of the real problems on 10 gigs, if you're both not on frequency, you don't get anything.
Doesn't take much to not get anything.
Yes. But it's not absolutely clear.
Okay.
He's done some testing since he got back. I'm happy with my GPS-DO because I've used it many times, and then I've got a supplementary weak signal GPS lock, and I tested that.
Okay.
And I worked Richard, and I worked the guys up in Launceston, and none of them complained that I was off frequency. So.
And Rich?
Well, I seem to work red every day, and I'm on frequency there. So
okay,
we think this might be a GPS-DO problem. Roger's using one of these Chinese ones.
Okay, keep going.
One of the Chinese ones. Most people have a fair bit of success with them.
Seems to work fine.
The only thing about them that I've noticed is they're a bit hot, as in the amplitude of the signal coming out of them. You really need to attenuate them down. That's the only thing that I've noticed.
Yeah,
The output is really high.
Well, that doesn't seem to affect the the DB6NTs that you feed it into.
Yeah.
So, the rest of the story is when I worked him 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
He was drifting a lot when he first turned it on.
Okay.
Like a few hundred hertz.
Okay.
Whereas when I test, I've got a Chinese one as well, and when I test it, it gets on frequency to within about 20 hertz in 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
But it gets there in a jerky sort of fashion.
Yeah.
And the one that he was using got there in a slow drift. So there's something different about his.
Okay.
So I think the majority opinion is there's a GPSDO problem.
Okay.
And I guess we hope that's what it was and that can be found, but we haven't been able to prove it.
Okay.
But given that the signals were so good on 2 meters, I think we might have missed an opportunity. So what I'm really reporting is a failure.
As it says on the slide, nil signals at 10 gigs.
That's right. Yes.
No, okay. So now Richard went. Did you go up to Mount Wellington? Or,
I did, yeah.
You know, because you were there for the field.
I was there for the
You were
field.
the field.
So I was sort of spent a bit of time chatting to Rex because you guys were doing some tests on 144 250, weren't you? On
Where we did swap up
Yeah.
to 250 to get off 0.2.
So I spent a bit of time on and off between working people in the contest to just sort of spin the beam around and have a listen. And for a while, when you first alerted me to the fact that you could hear Roger, he was reasonably strong. I didn't sort of hook the computer up, but it was audible, so we sort of thought
Okay.
on to sort of 15 or so. But it sort of came back a short while later and there was not much there. It was
You're not sure that you actually had line of sight, though, are you? Because
no, on 2 meters it would have been very close because I had the 2 meter Yagi was probably 5 meters above the car.
okay, yeah,
So it would have been really way closer than like obviously on 10 gigs.
yeah.
Okay.
But
Because the exercise was, if I remember rightly, from last week's comments, Richard was going to be actually in the duct, whereas you were going to be pointing into the duct at an angle.
yes,
So this was potentially going to be better or more probable for Richard than it was for yourself.
yes, and I have a feeling that Richard was receiving a little bit better than I was at that time, because the signals had dropped off for me.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind Richard's using a 60 centimetre dish and I was only using 77.
Okay.
But so I think Richard was actually getting some advantage being near the duct.
Yep.
But not a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Not as much as maybe we thought
No.
initially we might have got.
But that's also predicated on the other. There may have been an issue at the other end with the frequency stability.
No, this is on 2 metres.
Oh, this is on 2.
On
Okay.
2 metres.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
So you did a contact with Roger.
No. I think Rex and Roger were just basically doing overs backwards and forwards on Q65.
Okay.
Sort of 1 minute,
Okay.
I think. And I just basically turned a couple of times, had that in the memory, and would just turn the antenna around and peek it up and go, you know, whether it was strong or not there. And a couple of times it was audible, so I would have said, you know, at a guess maybe sort of minus 13, 14, 15, maybe. So not strong, not like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, jumping out of the...
But then a couple of times I spun around, and because obviously I could hear a very, very strong signal, which was obviously Rex.
Yep.
And a couple of times I turned back and Roger was sort of gone altogether. So
okay.
I should say at that stage Roger was working from his accommodation or his friend's place.
Okay.
And his takeoff was not that good then.
Ah, okay. So this is the new location on his end.
Not the new location. The new location is very good,
Okay.
but it's near his friend's place. But he actually, by the time we did the test with Richard, he just set up 2 metres at his friend's place,
Right.
which hasn't got a clear view out over the ocean.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a lot of areas.
There's some variables here that may have contributed to.
But I guess we got no clear view that being in the duct had helped by 60 dB or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay.
It might have helped a little bit. But
Okay. No. Well, it's all a learning experience. Well, and truly. Well, and truly.
Yeah, failures do produce information.
Correct, and hopefully improvements. So
Yeah.
yes.
Well, you've got to be in it to win it, as they say.
Correct.
But
Correct.
the key to 10 gigs, you've got to get everything right. You've got to be
I know.
on frequency,
I know.
you've got to get the pointing right.
Know that.
at both ends. At both ends.
Oh yeah. Our little Coles Bay exercise proved that to me.
Yes.
So yes. All right. No. Well,
Well, Richard can probably talk a bit more about the field day.
Yeah. I was actually going to get Murray and,
Oh, yes.
and
Oh, well,
Richard in.
I'll get
So we
Murray.
might do a bit of a reset because we've got a couple of segments for this. So we'll just do a bit of a reset, and we'll be back in a sec. That's all right. And calling Murray.
Murray.
Earth calling Murray. Earth calling Murray.
It's very flash.
Yes. Yeah. Here we go. Excellent. Bring your refreshments.
Coffee in hand.
Lovely. Lovely. All right. Now, I'll just raise it up a bit.
Shit.
I think we got that got a laugh from next to us. You can deal with that later.
Always a peanut gallery.
And I welcome Murray VK7ZMS into the studio with Richard, and a bit of a wrap up, I suppose, of the John Moyle Memorial Field Day, which occurred on Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, yeah.
So, give us a bit of an outline about your location and the setup and all sorts of stuff.
QE37 Oscar Charlie was in our usual spot. There was a couple of pictures on Facebook. I could probably accommodate with some pictures.
Lovely.
Marvels of technology. Just one moment.
Just one moment, please. Normal service will be restored directly.
So, yeah. Yeah, do it like that.
Okay. Do it like that. Do it like that, and go to there, and then if we zoom in here, look at that,
Lots of ways to-
and we just do a bit of a.
Focus.
There we go.
So that's the obligatory field truck mobile, which is really
Lovely.
sort of fit for purpose. Antennas there are the 2 metre LFA on the bottom, 7 elements.
Okay.
14 element DL6WU for 70 centimetres, and
Okay.
then the 4 metre long 1296 Yagi, which I think's 40 something, no, 50 something elements.
I thought it was 47. But
Anyway, about 4 metres long.
Yeah.
And a 6 metre vertical over there on the left on a
Okay.
bit of a pole.
Okay.
And yeah, basically pointed north in that particular spot. That's just down from the summit. You can see in the background there the concrete
Oh yes.
tower just in the sort of
Nice.
distance there.
There.
Yeah. So it's a good little spot. But I think Rex is used quite a bit, and I think Juff is used a fair bit.
There you go.
So I think it's
I love it.
it's a well known. I was actually a little bit worried as I was driving up there because the mountain was very busy on that Saturday morning.
Right.
And although it was early for ZBX on a Saturday morning, it wasn't obviously early for lots of other humans that do all sorts of
Right.
very physical things like ride mountain bikes and run and stuff. And every car park on the way up was full.
You
I'm
kidding me?
like, no, it was like there was no, and there was cars parked in really quite odd places.
Stupid places, yeah.
And you think, oh, wow.
Okay.
So I got round the corner where you and I were that time, Murray, when we first set up, just near where the buses turn.
Yep.
and there was a spot there. There was one car there, and there was one spot. And I go up around the corner, and our little spot was free, so I didn't even bother to go to the top until you. I did a 3-point turn right there
Done.
and claimed the spot.
Done. Now, can I just these are under tyre mounts?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
sort of custom mounts, pieces of
Yeah.
6mm plate
Yep.
with some little folding bits of pipe that have got a nut welder to them, so you can put a bolt in. So you can
Okay.
basically, although probably the engineering people need to sort of probably weld a hand tab on it rather than actually have to have a shifter laying on the ground.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, you can basically just put a stone under it or a bit of timber to sort of pack it level.
Okay.
It gives you a relatively stable
Fantastic.
stable platform.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So you set it all up and then just roll the vehicle over them.
Yeah, there's
You roll the vehicle over it before you set them up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you can see
yeah,
where the
yeah.
step ladder is on the right hand side there.
Yep.
Basically, that mast lays down, it tilts down
Oh, and sits on
and
the.
sits on that, so you can attach the antennas at sort of normal height and then just sort of hook them up and pop a bolt in.
That's actually something I need because I usually sit it on the 6 metre elements and they someday they're going to bend.
Yeah.
So that just happened to be.
So yes.
There is probably a shot a little bit further on in the thing. Not that way, the other way.
No, that
So
way?
that's like a bit of a view from the side of the
Cool.
10 gig system and the 2.4 gig system.
Yes, over here.
And then there's another one I think further on.
Oh, that
On again. Oh, that shows the operating.
position.
Yeah, which is probably a little bit difficult to see, but
Very nice.
um,
Can I zoom in here?
yeah, you can give it. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, look at that. There's a couple of radios.
So there's 9700 on the left, which was doing 1296 and 70,
Okay.
and 9100 on the right that was doing 2 metres and 6 metres,
Oh, very nice.
and an FT817 out of shot. Did you have your 818 there? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the 817 was just doing the transverter duty.
Okay. Very nice.
So yeah, but it was a perfect day.
Oh, shit, what a day. Okay.
So,
Oh,
that's another spot of shows the 10 gig system there.
excellent. So that's the position to up north?
Correct. Yeah. So basically, east. So where that dish is pointing is effectively almost true north.
Yeah, okay.
So 90 degrees where we would need to aim at Roger. I don't think that was actually pointing north at the time. I think north is
No, we just
around
pulled
this
it back
way.
off the road straight a bit.
Yeah, okay.
But I think basically over the back, probably where that sign is behind Murray's car.
So this one here.
Yeah, I think that's where we needed to point to work Roger. So for 10 gigs, we would have been basically firing straight into the
Yeah.
into the roadway. But I think with the 2 metre antenna up as high as it was, we probably would have snuck over the top.
Okay.
There was,
Oh,
that's,
there we go.
that's a picture of them.
There we go.
Not sure if that was on the bump in or out, but
assembly phase, yes. Cool.
Disassembly phase.
yeah, and that's stop further down to try and find a spot in the trees to try and work Roger from a different spot.
Not that spot then.
No. Just trying to find a spot. Rex pointed out a spot that was down a bit further, where there's a whole bunch of rocks that gave us a bit better view. So that, I think that maybe even the next slide along. Nope, that's the rock, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's the view
Okay.
from there, and if basically you can see the casino down off to the left
Oh
there.
yes, yeah.
So that was
Down there.
basically, I needed to be, I think, 4 degrees further round to the right
Okay.
for Roger from the casino. So that was probably quite a nice spot just there.
Oh, truly.
That
Okay.
meant sort of carrying the gear. In fact, that's a picture from standing on the rock back at the road. It's a bit
Oh, okay.
to see.
Okay. Oh, and this is.
And that's actually what it looked like. The other shot was actually zoomed in, but that's actually what it looked like. So,
Yeah. Okay.
so you can imagine where we were further round to the right. You
So
can see
that's-
what we were firing through.
That's like down at Big Bend, like
That's
no.
No,
just
down.
further down than Big Bend. So you basically come
okay.
round past Big Bend, and then there's a straight.
Yep.
Then it doglegs off to the left a bit, just where
Okay.
it doglegs off to the left, sort of
Oh,
there.
okay. Cool.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
But no, look, we had
Right.
electric fence.
Another project. Yes.
So we sort of had a lot of fun. Worked into VK3 on 1296, which was pretty damn cool. Worked VK3 ER portal.
Okay. Cool.
worked him on 270 and 1296. Worked John VK7JON.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
On 2 metres, nearly on 70.
Oh, he would have been chuffed because he runs the 2 metre across Bass Strait net
right.
thing.
Yeah,
he was in
and
Stoneport.
he was very, very low down until he got enough of our call sign to realise we were VK7 and that we're probably behind him. And
Turn the beam
he's
around.
like, hang on, I'm going to turn the beam, and then he came right up. He was like S2.
Yeah. Okay.
Very readable.
No, he would have been pretty chuffed there.
He was. But
Well, that's good.
we worked.
That means he was actually operating. He was actually operating the John Moyle. That's fantastic, and he would have got a lot of VK3s, I reckon. So yeah, across Bass Strait.
Yeah, look, there was a few. He was.
There was quite a few, especially on 2 metres. There was quite a few in the noise.
Yeah, okay.
Like you could hear people talking, but not enough to pull them out. So he might have, with a few extra 100 kilometres, 100 k's closer and a few less mountains in the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might have been doing a lot better. But I think we heard him working a VK3, which is where we.
Cool. Yeah, well, a few times
heard him.
we had 2 minutes up quite loud, and you'd sort of often you'd stop and you go, I heard a voice.
Yeah. Yeah, but then the usual field day thing. If you listen to the noise long enough, you hear your call sign.
Oh
Yeah.
But of course we worked the boys up north. So Andrew DW and
yes.
James JM. Yeah, they took PD's kit to White Hills and they operated sort of 6270, 1296, 2.4, 3.4 and 10.
And by the time I got DW's phone number from Peter, I texted DW and said, "Oh, can we try 1296 from Ross?" And he said, "We're on the way home." And I went, bugger.
We tried working you, didn't we? On
correct.
1296,
We did try that, which is fantastic. And I did turn the beam around to where I thought White Hills was, and did quite a few calls in that direction. But no, absolutely nothing. But they may not have even been listening.
That's right. But Pete, on the upside, Peter's signals on 10 gigs were way better than last year, based on the fact now that his feed point was actually in the feed point of the dish.
Oh, so you've rejigged that.
Yeah, we
did.
Okay. Well, actually, Rex did.
Realigned that.
Yeah, so we used quite a clever technique and used a jacking screw to push the feed back into the right spot in the dish.
Okay.
Which
Fantastic.
went really, really well.
Peter will be happy with that.
We had we couldn't make it on 3.4 gigs. I could hear him, but he couldn't hear me, so we.
Ooh, okay.
Don't have an issue or
just
differential power levels. Or
Okay.
But because they're both those converted sort of Geelong panels.
Yep.
And anything could have happened. So.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things I can do now that I have a nice new spec in is actually tune those filters.
Could work.
So I will at least know that they are correct instead of
just guessing.
Question is, are you going to live long enough? That's actually because they're quite a finicky adjustment, weren't they?
They are, yes, yeah. You sort of have to build up to it.
Yeah,
that's a good way of describing it.
But no, it was good, and there was there's a few locals on, so it was good. Sort of Reg came on, and that was great.
Excellent. Okay.
And I think Murray had a ball. So and the weather, I can't believe how good the weather was.
From Mount Wellington.
It was to get up there at like 10:30, 11 o'clock to set up, and then stop and have a bit of lunch, and then operate, and then pack up, and be like, wow, it hasn't blown.
It hasn't blown.
Rained,
it hasn't been
snowed,
freezing. It hasn't. Yeah. Okay.
So I rocked up there with the obligatory Mt Wellington coat,
of course.
and within about 5 minutes, I was like, look at that.
Actually, you're probably more in danger of sunburn rather than maybe.
Yes, Hayden and I had that
chill factor.
sunburn. I think it was good.
Indeed. Yeah, no, it was.
Okay.
It was a great day.
No, well that is fantastic. So, how many contacts did you end up with?
I made 60.
Okay.
Was 59, but Steve very graciously helped out and made it 60. Good on you, Steve.
Excellent. 3 cheers for Steve.
47.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and look,
Excellent.
I think it was good. We probably could have done with a few more.
Well, bear in mind, you only operated VHF, UHF microwave.
Yeah.
So you went on HF.
No.
So and John Moyle's traditionally more probably a HF contest than it is
as a UHF.
than
That's
a
right.
VHF. So I think you did really well, actually.
Look, pretty happy. Look back at last year, and the single operator 6-hour score last year that won was 216 points,
Okay.
and this year
And that
we got
was
715 points.
Oh, there you go. I love it.
So
Good chance, I'd
was it
say.
good? Yeah, well, I just think it's good to.
Because but the whole thing about you did the VHF UHF segment, so I think there's probably a pretty good chance you're up there. So, well, truly,
As long as we get VK7 on the map, it's good.
I think that's fantastic, and there was certainly a few. So the key message and take home from this segment is please put your login.
If you run VKCL, it's just really easy. In fact, Murray's done his tonight. So yeah.
Excellent. And you get a personalised email back from Dennis
Yep.
Johnson, who is VK4AE Alpha Echo.
Just also make sure, a note probably to people, please make sure that you check your logs carefully, because I know I made a couple of small errors with mispronouncing the VK3's grid square, and I only picked it up because in VKCL, when you work the same person again on a different band, it fills in their thing, and you sort of go, oh, was that QF or QS? Oh no, it was QF. Ah, sweet, let me just make a note of that.
And Murray and I were talking about this earlier, because if you get it wrong once and you don't pick it up that once,
It perpetuates, and
Correct.
you get it wrong all the time.
so you are just literally throwing those points away.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Absolutely.
So yes. Okay.
Please check to make sure that they're right.
Cool. Well, that is fantastic.
That was good.
So we do have, and we've got Anthony on, Anthony VK7LAG on the streaming channel. So good evening, Anthony. He was going to come in tonight but couldn't make it. But we will still have Anthony in the videos, because our first video tonight is actually a very nicely put together video of him activating Mount Herringback, which is down the Huon Valley.
It's an excellent effort to walk all that way.
Definitely.
My goodness.
Having done that with Ruben, I definitely know what he went through. So yes, and it took so he took video of him operating, and it was both a SOTA activation and it was also a John Moyle Memorial Field Day activation. So 3 cheers for Anthony. Fantastic effort, absolutely fantastic effort. And I operated at Ross, so I went to the Meet the Voice, and we've got a segment on the Meet the Voice after this.
That was really good.
So, and I usually it's John Moyle, so I set up a little squid pole with a link dipole, and I did take the 23 centimetre as well.
We tried.
So I just operated Saturday night and then Sunday morning, so for a little while.
So did you get some good scores on HF? Or?
I think no, because see, I wasn't exchanging grid squares, because you don't have to. You actually don't have to if you don't want to, and you just get 2 points, 2 points of contact. So, because it hasn't been traditionally, it's not really a grid square contest really, but on VHF UHF you do that, because VHF UHF
But
it does
we
count.
talking to Catherine
It does
up
count.
there, hadn't she done?
GH, yeah, she did well.
300 contacts or
Correct.
something in 6 hours. Like,
Correct.
Wow.
And she actually, her and John came to the Meet the Voice, had quite a talk with him, and they stayed for a barbecue on the Sunday. So that was really good.
Oh, it's really good.
So what we might do, actually, that's probably an excellent segue into if I go to
That magic button.
if I go to there. Okay, these are some of the pictures that I took at the Meet the Voice event, and just bear with me here while I find my cursor. There we are, because we're across on another. Now, this is Peter VK7 KPC, who is really into military radios. Brought along this very cute little Vietnam era
I think it's 246 type watt AM and CW transceiver on HF, crystal locked, and he showed a little thing that he was operating. That's the battery hole, so he was coming up with some LiPo because it runs off 12, 24 and 4 volts, which is just, oh my goodness, okay, righto. All goes in a little pack, and there is also in the pack a very nice little dipole that you roll out on 1/4 inch tape reels, and it's labelled with the megahertz. So you unroll to the megahertz that you're actually using on either side, and there's your dipole.
Nice.
So really neat little pack. There was also a neat little if you zoom in here, neat little Bakelite Morse key off of one of his other radios that he was using with it. That was the battery pack that he was making up, and that actually slots into that hole there. So
So the radio actually needs a 4 volt, a 12 volt, and a 24 volt rail to operate.
correct, and that's what that battery pack normally holds. The 4 volts is for the receiver. Now, if I get this right, the 4 volts was for the receiver. The 12 volts was for. Actually, I don't know.
Probably the exciter part of it.
Oh, the exciter. No, you're right. The exciter, and then the 24 volts was for the PA.
Yeah.
That was right. That's exactly right. Anyway, very cute little radio he brought along to show people, which is fantastic. Now this is here we go. Here's Murray and Mush here.
Fancy that.
So, and Mike, who's giving us a talk a bit later, and I'll go into that. This is up at just outside the Ross Caravan Park. So, there's Warren. So, an excellent contingent from the south of the state. Here's a few more people, and in fact, there's Graham VK7GS who got the sewing machine award, and there's a few. Oh, now here's Cedric with his non-motorised walker, and I suspect by the time we go back there next year, it will be motorised. Now here's Jeff GW, Cedric CL, Roscoe VK7ALH Australian Lighthouse, and Graham VK7GS. Now Graham's, for those who don't know, Graham's currently doing our 160 metre rebroadcasts on a Sunday from Sheffield. He lives just outside Sheffield. In fact, I found out on Sunday that it was a stone's throw from the Mt Wellington bed and breakfast that we were staying in when I was up there, so I could have gone to visit him, but anyway. Lots of people all hanging about, meeting the voice and having a chat. Now there's Catherine, that's VK7GH. There's Shirley, VK7HSC. So, and there's Peter, VK7KPC in the middle. Here's Roscoe. Now, I don't actually know who that is. I have to find out who that is. Roscoe giving a bit of a spiel on the Meet the Voice. And then calling everybody to order. Here's the trophy. Now, if we zoom in here, this is all laser cut. You'll notice Graham VK7GS 2021, which is all nicely laser cut into the bit of hue and pine, which is actually made by Shirley's husband, who's unfortunately silent key. So now here's the presentation. Here's Roscoe doing a little speech, and
Little it was.
it was very little. Unaccustomed to public speaking as I am. Here he is handing it to Graham, and Graham then giving us a little slightly longer speech. So here we go. Now Graham's a recent returning amateur. He was an amateur a long time ago and has recently returned to amateur radio. So fantastic. Now Kevin VK7HKN and Lynn actually came along. now poor Kevin's he's dealing with some problems with his left side and a few other things from the operation and a few other things, but he made it to the Meet the Voice, which is fantastic, thanks to Lynn. So good on you, Kevin and Lynn. Eric VK7EV, who runs the repeater net up on the northwest coast, and in his porcupine wagon, he's actually got more antennas on the car than I've got on the van. So there you go.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. That's very impressive. Joe would be very happy. Would be very impressed.
Suitably impressed.
Definitely. Now there were a few people who set up. This is set up a K2 Elecraft K2, as well as a base-loaded vertical on a very camouflaged tripod here. The base loading very much like a Turlin. You can put it in all sorts of configurations with the jumper cable. So yeah, that was set up, and I think I've got the last one. Yeah, and this was him operating on, I think it was 20 metres on the K2. Very nice little LiPo battery pack, and I think it was, yes, it was 40 metres. No, 40 metres, not 20 metres.
Is that wrong?
So
AWB?
yeah. So there you go. I think that's it. Yeah, we're back to where we were.
Sure.
So there you go.
Good move.
So that's the Meet the Voice, and we all retired to have our barbecue, and that was quite nice. And then we all disappeared after that point, and a whole lot of people went across to the pub because DMH, Mike Hawkins' wife, I think, is the secretary of the jazz club, and the jazz was playing at the pub, so they all disappeared for jazz at the pub and suitable refreshments.
Was terrible?
Yeah, it was a shocker of a day.
Yeah. Imagine.
So anyway, that's our that's the Meet the Voice BBQ. Now, a certain thing arrived during the week, which I've been waiting for a while. So let's go. Ooh, wrong way. Wrong way. The orange thing, which is surrounding the 705, is a 3D printed hard ABS. I got it printed in ABS, so it's actually pretty hard wearing, as in plastic. It's a design by ON4. Here we go. I was going to have this up on the screen. Just bear with me. Oh no, hang on. I've got it written here. ON4VH, Victor Hotel, and it's his version 2. So there is a version 1 up on Thingaverse, and this is version 2. It comes in 6 parts when it's printed. It's the front panel, so it's this panel, and then it's this surround at the back, and you glue these together, and then you put the 4mm screws in here to hold it in. That's the 2 parts. Then there is a front panel that gets printed, so that goes on there. And then there is a cover. I'm not sure. Oh no, that cover is printed.
I just looked at that.
That doesn't need to be printed, but anyway, could just be cut. That goes inside there, and then inside, and then the really snazzy part is they supply you with an ICOM IC-705. Now, I did try for an hour and a half to change that to VK7 TW. And decided that
Life's too short.
life was way too short because it didn't matter what I did, it just didn't work. So I left it as ICOM 705. Now that goes that fits into that panel there, like thus, and centered obviously. And there are the little O's that are missing out of the middle that are in the pack as well, so you can stick them in there. So I'm debating as to whether I try and get somebody to do VK7 TW before I stick it in there.
Yeah,
and actually,
absolutely.
I sort of thought that might be nice and pretty.
But anyway,
I know somebody.
well, there's a few people who've sort of said, "Oh yeah, I can do that for you," and maybe I'll go and watch them and go, "Damn, blasted."
No, probably not.
But as you can see, that goes on, so it protects number one the screen, but also all the knobs and everything that are on the
A
inside.
little
So
ball bearing in the
well, there's another couple of parts that were
seems to
printed.
clip on there quite nicely, doesn't it?
Correct, and that lines up, so you can put a screw in there to hold the front cover on.
Yep.
And this one goes at this end. So you glue that one in, and you basically clip it in that way, and then screw that on the end, and it holds it on there. So that's anyway, that's 3D printed case for the IC-705. I'm a little happier about probably taking it out now. I was a little bit tentative about, and my experience on Mt Roland and Mt Van Dyke, where it did actually get a layer of moisture on it. I was just a little bit worried about that. I did dry it out afterwards, but it just, and also I did decide to get it in bright orange.
Excellent colour. Camouflage.
So if I don't know, drop it down a hole in a crevasse or something, I can maybe have a half a chance of seeing it and getting it out. But anyway, that's IC-705 case, and full credit to ON4VH, who put his design up on Thingaverse, freely available. So that's the IC-705. Now the only thing I had to do was the hole for the 1/4 inch mount, the tripod mount. The hole wasn't quite in the right place, so I used a round file to adjust that. That's the only thing that I did though. So ON4VH, you did really well. Really well with the design.
It's really version 2 if it's actually version 67.
Well, it might be. But anyway, and it prints up really nicely in ABS. I specifically got it in ABS because ABS is actually much harder wearing than PLA. So I just and it doesn't dent quite so easily, etc. So anyway, that's the. Now I just let me go to just to make sure live stream. No, okay, that's all right. I just want to make sure that there was no comments on the live stream. Now, to finish off very quickly, just some reminders. We won't. I did have the low key, the review of the latest low key magazine. We'll have that next time. But some reminders about our presentation night in April, which is our first Wednesday night in April. So it's in 2 weeks' time. Andrew Elwell about the Pawsey Supercomputing Centre in VK6 and their involvement with the Square Kilometre Array. Our May presentation is Mike Groth, who's giving us another great talk on lightning whistlers and other related phenomenon. So that's another one not to be missed. And our June presentation night, which I confirmed with Mike Hawkins, which might be a Mike Hawkins Richard ZBX production, on satellite communication and satellite antennas, because Mike's been doing a whole lot of stuff with weather satellites and all sorts of things, and making quadrophilia and egg beaters and all sorts of stuff, and cross moxons. So been doing a whole lot of experimentation with satellite antennas, so that should be a fantastic one for June presentation night. So we've got things covered through until June, so there you go. Now what I might... Anthony, okay, well, that's an interesting question. There is a service that was online the name of it eludes me, but I'll let you know, where you can go on and specify, you can upload the design
upload the design, and then they give you some quotes on getting it done in a variety of countries. You know, and you put in the material, you put in the colour, and you put in a few other things. And I ended up getting it printed, would you believe, in Switzerland, because that was cheaper than me getting it printed in Australia. So that was just a little bit disappointing, that, but I would have got it printed in Australia, and I'm sure that there's probably people out there going, oh, I got it done that for you, I got it done that for you. But the service is you upload the files, do the specifications, select where you wanted it printed, and it's included is the shipping cost and everything to go with it, and I just get it all in a box from Switzerland.
You didn't go with the gold option?
the gold option that if you put in it says price on application. or the copper option, or the aluminium option, or the... You just...
That'd be super cool to actually see something 3D printed in proper metal.
In metal. So, and the CSIRO have done an awful lot in that space as well. So, yeah, you're right, Anthony. I can actually say it's Swiss Swiss precision. But anyway, that's how. And what was the delivery time? Okay, it was about a month, Harry. About a month for it to arrive. So it's certainly not quick. And I suspect a lot of that was around probably trying to get it out of Switzerland, COVID and all sorts of stuff. So
doesn't necessarily seem to be slow coming out of Europe, but it does seem to be expensive.
Well, the front of the box was covered in Swiss stamps, which are quite interesting stamps. So if anyone collects Swiss stamps, I can I can pass them on if you like. Yeah, that's. And the ACMA reminder, yes, Warren, we did do a reminder earlier in the segment. So please get your submissions in. You have until not this Friday, but next Friday is the 2nd of April to get it in. So somebody's trying to remind me of something. Okay. So yeah. So that's our presentation night for tonight. I hope you have got something out of it, and we'll catch you next Wednesday night. We'll have another program, and I hopefully will have this all together, and I can show you the end product. So yeah, cool. This is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night, and we'll catch you next time. 73.